Somewhere in the weaving of this tale, a glimmer of truth may be hidden among the moonlight and magic. But whether this story is fact or fantasy matters not. What matters is the calm it brings you, the comfort it offers, and if, perchance, you find yourself drifting off before the tale's end, I would be honored. Should you wish to return another night to uncover the story's secrets, the Moonlit Market will always be waiting for you. Now let us begin. The road stretched endlessly before you, silvered by the cool light of the full moon. You had been walking for hours, the soft crunch of gravel beneath your boots the only sound in the stillness of the night. The air was crisp, carrying with it the faint, sweet scent of night-blooming flowers, a smell that felt both familiar and strange. Just as the thought of rest began to call louder than your curiosity, you saw it, flickering lights in the distance, faint and golden, as if the stars themselves had descended to the earth. Drawn closer, you soon found yourself before an archway made of twisting living branches, their leaves shimmering like silver in the moonlight. Beyond it, a wonderland unfolded, a sprawling market that seemed to pulse with life and magic. The stalls were an explosion of color and light, each one brimming with treasures unlike anything you'd ever seen. Glowing fruits that hovered above their baskets, fabrics that shimmered like liquid starlight, and bottles of perfume that sang when uncorked. Everywhere you turned, you saw faces, human, animal, and something in between, each lit with wonder. Laughter bubbled through the air like champagne, mingling with the distant strum of a harp. As you wandered deeper into the market, your eyes caught on a small, unassuming stall at the edge of the square. Its wares were understated, a collection of trinkets and charms laid out on soft velvet. And behind it stood a figure, a man with kind, weathered eyes and a half-smile, working on a delicate necklace with hands both strong and careful. "New to the market, are you?" he asked, his voice warm and inviting, as though you'd known him all your life. You nodded, words momentarily escaping you as his gaze met yours. "Well then," he said, setting his work down and gesturing to the trinkets before him, "welcome to the Moonlit Market. Every piece here has a story, if you care to listen." Something in his tone, or perhaps the glint in his eyes, hinted that his words carried more than the weight of invitation. They carried a promise of discovery. And so, with curiosity tugging at your heart, you leaned closer, ready to listen, and perhaps to uncover a story or two of your own. The craftsman's stall wasn't the most eye-catching in the market, but something about it drew you in. His trinkets had an understated beauty, rings that seemed to hum faintly when touched, pendants that shimmered like water in sunlight, and small sculptures that danced in place, animated by unseen magic. "What's your name?" he asked, his tone casual but his eyes sharp, as though your answer mattered more than he let on. You hesitated, then offered your name. He repeated it as if tasting it on his tongue, then nodded. "It suits you." "And you asked, curiosity blooming. He chuckled softly. "I'm known as many things here, but you can call me Rowan." You looked down at the necklace he had been working on, a simple chain of silver with a teardrop-shaped gem at its center. It wasn't overly adorned, but its simplicity held a quiet elegance. "It's beautiful," you said, gesturing to the piece. "Thank you," Rowan replied, his hands pausing over the necklace. "This one's special. It holds the memory of a first snowfall, cold, crisp, and filled with wonder. Want to try it?" You nodded, and he leaned forward, gently fastening the necklace around your neck. As the gem rested against your skin, you felt a strange sensation, like the first breath of winter air, exhilarating and refreshing. "It's not just a trinket," Rowan said softly, watching your reaction. "Every piece here is tied to something, a moment, a feeling, or a memory. They choose their wearer as much as their wearer chooses them." The idea fascinated you, and you found yourself lingering at his stall, asking about the stories behind the pieces. He told you of a ring that carried the laughter of a child, a brooch that shimmered with the glow of the first sunrise, and earrings that whispered secrets of ancient forests. As he spoke, you noticed how his voice softened when he shared these tales, as though each object held a piece of his own heart. "I've never seen anything like this market," you said, marveling at the magic surrounding you. Rowan smiled, his expression warm but tinged with something else, a quiet sadness perhaps. "It's not always here. The Moonlit Market appears only once a year, when the moon is at its fullest. Most stumble upon it by chance, as you did." "Why is that?" you asked, your curiosity growing. "Because it's meant for wanderers, for those searching for something, even if they don't know what," he said, meeting your eyes. "What are you searching for?" The question caught you off guard, and for a moment you didn't know how to answer, but something about Rowan's steady gaze made you feel as though he already understood, even without words. "You'll find it," he said gently, his voice a quiet reassurance. "The market has a way of showing you what you need, even if it's not what you expect." As the hours passed, Rowan closed his stall and offered to show you around the market. Together you wandered through the glowing stalls, sharing laughter over strange sights, a stand selling clouds in jars, a baker crafting pastries that floated like balloons, and a musician playing an instrument that looked like a cross between a harp and a spider's web. At every turn, Rowan's presence felt steady, grounding you in a place that was otherwise ethereal and otherworldly. And as the night deepened, the two of you found yourselves at the edge of the market, where the lights gave way to the quiet shimmer of the moonlit forest. "This place is incredible," you said, glancing back at the glowing market behind you. "But it feels fleeting." "It is," Rowan replied, his tone thoughtful. "When dawn comes, the market fades, but the memories, those stay with you if you let them." For a moment, you stood in silence, the weight of his words settling over you. The magic of the market was undeniable, but it was Rowan, his quiet warmth, his stories, his presence that felt truly unforgettable. The moon hung high, casting silver light over the quiet edge of the market. The sounds of laughter and music faded into the background, leaving only the soft rustle of the wind through the trees and the rhythmic hum of your footsteps alongside Rowan's. For a while, neither of you spoke, but the silence wasn't empty. It felt like the pause between words in a favorite song, a moment to savor the melody before it began again. Rowan stopped beside a small clearing where a single tree stood bathed in moonlight. Its branches were heavy with blossoms that glowed faintly, as if drinking in the light. He reached up and gently plucked one, holding it out to you. "They call this a moonflower," he said, his voice softer now. "It only blooms on nights like this under a full moon. They say if you hold it close, it shows you the truth of your heart." You hesitated before taking the blossom, its petals cool and delicate against your skin. For a moment you simply held it, unsure of what to expect. "Go on," Rowan urged, his gaze steady and encouraging. Closing your eyes, you brought the flower to your chest. The world seemed to fall away, and in its place came a sensation, not a vision but a feeling. Warmth like sunlight breaking through clouds, a quiet sense of belonging, and something else too, a pull toward the person beside you, as though your paths had been intertwined long before this moment. When you opened your eyes, Rowan was watching you closely, his expression unreadable, but his eyes filled with quiet intensity. "What did you see?" he asked. You hesitated, your heart thudding in your chest. "I didn't see anything," you admitted. "I felt something. Something I can't quite put into words." His lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Sometimes that's the only truth we need." The moonflower's glow began to fade, its magic spent, but Rowan's presence beside you felt steady and unchanging. "Why did you come here?" you asked suddenly, surprising yourself with the question. He looked out toward the market, his expression thoughtful. I've been coming to the Moonlit Market for years. At first it was to sell my trinkets, but somewhere along the way it became more than that. He glanced at you, his voice dropping to a near whisper. It became about finding something, or someone, I didn't even realize I was searching for. The words hung in the air between you, heavy with meaning. Your gaze met his, and in that moment it felt as though the rest of the world had fallen away, leaving only the two of you beneath the glowing tree. The market might fade with the dawn, but this moment, this connection, felt timeless, as if it had always existed and would continue to exist, no matter where the roads ahead might lead. Rowan reached out, his hand brushing yours, tentative and careful. "I don't know where this night will take us," he said softly, "but I'd like to see where it leads, if you're willing." The question lingered in his eyes, but in your heart the answer was already clear. Rowan's hand lingered near yours for a moment before he pulled back, his expression shifting into a soft smile. "Come," he said, his voice carrying warmth. "There's still so much of the market to see. I'd hate for you to miss the best parts." As you walked back toward the heart of the market, the world seemed to come alive around you. The stalls you passed shimmered with impossible colors, their wares enchanting in ways you could scarcely comprehend. Rowan led you to one stall where the merchant, a small, sprightly woman with wings like a dragonfly, was selling glowing orbs. "Try one," Rowan urged, picking up an orb that flickered like firelight. "What do they do?" you asked, turning it over in your hands. The merchant grinned mischievously. "They hold memories," she said, her voice like a tinkling bell. "Not yours, of course. These are memories of the world. Moments of joy, beauty, wonder. Hold it close and see." You hesitated before bringing the orb to your chest. Immediately your mind filled with a vision. A field of golden flowers swaying under a brilliant sun, laughter echoing in the distance. The warmth and happiness of the memory washed over you, leaving you breathless. When you opened your eyes, Rowan was watching you, his gaze soft. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he asked. You nodded, setting the orb back on the table with a sense of reluctance. "It feels so real." "That's the magic of this place," Rowan said. "Everything here feels like a dream, but it's as real as the ground beneath your feet." As you continued exploring, he showed you more of the market's hidden treasures. A stall selling maps to impossible places, a fountain where wishes whispered back to the wisher, and a stand offering sweets that changed flavor with each bite. At one point, Rowan stopped to watch a fire dancer performing in the square. The flames twisted and leaped as if alive, and the crowd's cheers rang out in delighted harmony. Rowan's face lit up in the firelight, his smile genuine and unguarded. "This," he said quietly, leaning close so only you could hear, "is my favorite part of the market. The little moments that feel like magic, even when they're not." The night stretched on, filled with laughter, wonder, and the occasional quiet moment where your gaze would meet his, and time seemed to pause. You found yourself lingering near him more and more, drawn to the steady warmth he exuded, like a beacon guiding you through the shimmering chaos of the market. The first signs of dawn began to creep into the night, a faint light at the edges of the horizon, soft and golden, casting long shadows across the market. The stalls seemed to glow even brighter in the dimming moonlight, their magic flaring as if in farewell. Rowan stopped near a quiet corner of the market where the lights were dimmer, the crowds thinner. He looked at you with a mixture of hesitation and warmth, as though weighing the words he wanted to say. "It's almost time," he said softly, glancing toward the horizon. "The market will soon fade, and with it." He trailed off, his meaning clear even without finishing the sentence. The thought struck you like a bittersweet melody. The market, with all its wonder, had felt timeless, but now its fleeting nature was undeniable. Yet standing here with Rowan, you realized it wasn't the market you would miss the most. "What happens to you when it disappears?" you asked, your voice barely above a whisper. "I go where I'm needed," Rowan replied, a faint smile playing on his lips. "The market is my home, but it isn't bound to one place or time. Neither am I." The idea made sense in the context of this magical night, but it still left your chest feeling heavy. Before you could say more, Rowan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, delicate charm, a tiny moonflower carved from silver, its petals so finely crafted they seemed to glow faintly in the fading light. "For you," he said, placing it gently in your hand, "a piece of the market to carry with you, no matter where your journey takes you." You turned the charm over in your fingers, its weight comforting and solid, yet somehow imbued with the same ethereal magic as the market. "Thank you," you said, your voice catching slightly. Rowan's smile softened, and for a moment, the space between you seemed to hum with unspoken words, a quiet connection that didn't need explanation. The market's lights began to dim one by one, the stalls vanishing as though they had never been. The sounds of laughter and music faded into the stillness of dawn. Rowan reached for your hand, his touch warm and grounding, as the last glow of the market surrounded you both. "Whatever you find on your journey," he said, his voice low and steady, "I hope it brings you the same wonder you found here tonight." Before you could respond, the world seemed to shift. The ground beneath your feet grew solid, the air cooler. When you blinked, you were standing at the edge of an empty field bathed in the soft light of sunrise. The market was gone, leaving only silence and the faint scent of night-blooming flowers on the breeze. In your hand, the silver moonflower glinted, a quiet reminder of what you'd found and what you might find again. And somewhere, in the distance, you imagined Rowan's warm smile, his presence as steady and sure as the moonlight that had guided you through the night. Life returned to its familiar rhythm, but the memory of the moonlit market lingered in the quiet corners of your mind. Days turned into weeks, and though the magic of that night felt like a distant dream, the silver moonflower charm remained steadfast around your neck. You often found yourself tracing its delicate petals with your fingers, its cool surface a gentle reminder of wonder and warmth. One afternoon, as you wandered through a bustling market in your own town, the mundane world suddenly seemed to shimmer with possibility. The chatter of shoppers and the scent of fresh produce filled the air, but something else caught your attention. A presence, fleeting but undeniable. Out of the corner of your eye, you glimpsed a figure. A man with a familiar stance, standing by a stall filled with trinkets that seemed out of place among the ordinary goods. Rowan. Your heart leapt, and you turned quickly, hoping to catch his eye. He was already looking at you, his warm smile unmistakable even from a distance. For a moment, it was as if the world had stilled, and the connection you'd felt that moonlit night returned with full force. But then, as a group of people passed between you, Rowan was gone. You wove through the crowd searching, but he had vanished as if he'd never been there. As you stood there, catching your breath, the silver moonflower around your neck began to glow faintly, its light warm and steady. A soft smile touched your lips, and you felt a quiet certainty settle in your chest. Rowan was out there somewhere, as tied to the magic of the world as the moonlit market itself. Perhaps you would meet again, under the glow of a full moon, or in some other unexpected moment. But even if you didn't, you knew that part of him would always be with you. A memory, a feeling, a connection that could never be lost. The bustling market around you returned to focus, but it felt different now, tinged with the faintest trace of magic. You tucked the moonflower beneath your collar, its glow close to your heart, and walked on with a renewed sense of wonder, knowing that your story, and Rowan's, was far from over. Thank you for joining me on this magical journey through the moonlit market. Whether you drifted off to sleep along the way or stayed until the very end, I'm so glad you were here. This story is always here for you, a place to return when you need a moment of calm, a touch of wonder, or simply the comfort of a familiar tale. May the glow of the moonflower remind you that magic exists even in the quiet corners of your everyday life. And who knows? Perhaps the Moonlit Market might find its way to you again someday. Until next time, sweet dreams and peaceful nights.